Good evening and welcome to In Focus. Russia has withdrawn its forces from northern Syria as Israeli airstrikes and shifting alliances escalate tensions in the region. Amid growing calls for a Syrian-led resolution, the conflict has entered a new phase. In Gaza and Lebanon, volatile conditions persist with ongoing military operations and high-stake political maneuvers, raising concerns about the region's future stability. Meanwhile, South Korea faces a political turning point following the impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol, sparking protests and a shift in power to an unelected acting president. Let's begin with the latest updates from Syria. The Washington Post has reported that the United States and other international powers have outlined the vision for Syria's future, calling for a Syrian-led inclusive and non-sectarian government. This process aims to uphold Syria's unity, sovereignty and territorial integrity. The Arab Contact Group, along with the EU and the UN Special Envoy, released this vision following discussions in Aqaba, Jordan. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken highlighted direct talks with Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, the HTS, urging the commitment to key principles for Syria's future government. Blinken also emphasized the importance of addressing Syria's chemical weapons. In providing more analysis about the last updates concerning the Syrian situation, we're joined from Cairo by Mr. Mohammed Mustafa Abu Shama, a journalist and political analyst. Good evening to you, sir, and welcome to Qnews. Now, how do you interpret Russia's partial withdrawal from northern Syria while maintaining control over key military bases?
In the outset, I'd like to salute you and your viewers. There is no doubt that there are agreements between the Russian state and the armed groups such as HTC that controlled the area, and it seems that the Russian side do not wish to engage with them or to clash with them. The presence of Russia in the future hasn't been exposed yet. Are they going to leave the military bases in Laziqiya, or there is a tension in the future to minimize their presence or to be moved? What has been announced is the withdrawal from the other Syrian cities, and the endowment and the expert were located in Syria that were controlled by al-Assad's Bashar, and to minimize the military size in such a base, and a portion of the arms were transferred to another state that hadn't been announced yet. In fact, by the fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime, some Russia and Iran started to step back a few steps on the level of the political presence, as the fall of al-Assad regime represented an influence for them, since the Iranian and the Russian state supported the previous regime and to practice their control in that period. I think the hegemony or domination of the armed groups such as HTC that controlled most of the Syrian cities in the past few days and formed a new government that prevailed to the step back of this role. And along with the understanding between the armed groups and both countries, Russia and Iran, with their US officials in the region to tackle the issue of Syria a stable state and building the future. And the U.S. marketing of the new administration in Syria, a new group, reflected that the U.S. administration, despite in a way or another, classified the HTC as a terrorist group, but it might be in a way of to find a new formula regarding the future of Syria.
We're still speaking about Russia. We're coming to another areas with now with the recent U.S. contacts with Hayat al-Tahrir Sham. How do you foresee their role in Syria's political future? Again, we were speaking about the U.S. and the recent U.S. contacts with Hayat al-Tahrir Sham, and how do you foresee their role in Syria's political future?
The contacts up till now weren't direct talks with the HTC or the military leadership, but via the Turkish broker. And I think there are some understanding that supported the stability of Syria and the political transformation towards a multilateral portions in the government, whether they are going to agree about the form of the transitional government and formulating a new constitution that would allow the inclusion of all Syrians. These issues should be agreed upon by the United States of America and the Arab region countries, stipulated in the communique that was formulated yesterday by the Arab region, and as trying to build in trust bridges for the peace and security of the Syrian and supporting the elected authority that represents the Syrian. Also, as such, justice for the armed group that controlled the authority recently. And all of them, including the United States of America, are targeting a real transformation to a stable political system elected by the Syrian people.
Right. Still, we're speaking about two areas in Syria. There are many other areas. That was Mr. Muhammad Mustafa Abu Shama, journalist and political analyst from Cairo. Thank you so much for your insights. And while tensions in Syria signal a shifting dynamic in the region, the situation in Gaza and Lebanon continues to escalate, with ongoing military operations and fragile ceasefire negotiations dominating the headlines. Let's turn now to the latest developments in these volatile areas. New findings from the British Palestine Committee has revealed that Britain's involvement in Gaza extend beyond arms exports, implicating rough acroterry in surveillance flights and weapons logistics, and support Israel's military operations. These actions, linked to over 44,000 Palestinian deaths, challenge Britain's adherence to international law and raise questions about the complicity in the ongoing conflict. This report underscores the need for security of Britain's role and its broader implications for regional stability and global accountability. Delving deeper into these very critical developments, we are joined by Dr. Hassan Al-Daja, Professor of Strategic Studies from Amman. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening.
Right. Now, yesterday an Israeli drone strike in Mejayoun district of southern Lebanon claimed one life. This act violates a 2-week-old ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. Now, how significant is this breach, and what are the broader implications of it?
I think there's no accountability for Israeli when they violate the agreements between Israel and Lebanon, and it commits many of these violations, killing people, attacking places, airstrikes. Still, always the Israel is violating this agreement, and the international committee is not talking anything about that, because actually they support Israel by what they are doing. At the same time, they are asking for stability and security for this region. Yes.
Right. Now, Hezbollah's Deputy General Secretary General Naim Qassem asserts that Israeli operations are failing to meet their objectives. With heightened rhetoric from Hezbollah, is the region edging closer to prolonged conflict?
I think if the violation will be continue, I think Hezbollah also they will reply accordingly to this violations, acting violations by Israel, and they will start limited airstrikes and missiles between each other, and this will not support the security and safety and stability in the between two borders. And always the Israel is doing this violation, and no one of international community is criticizing that, and they think that this is a self-defense. And as you know, the self-defense is granted to the occupied territories and to the people under occupation, not for the occupied actor or the state. Yes.
Now, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met with U.S. National Security Advisor Jack Sullivan to push for lasting peace in Gaza. How crucial is Egypt's role in these negotiations?
I think Egypt is playing an important role in the Middle East, and also especially nowadays in Gaza and West Bank and South Lebanon. Also about what's happening in the south of Syria in Jolan, and the attacking and occupying some land of Israeli in Jolan and some near places. Sisi and Egypt playing good role to push out for more stability in this region, and they are always clearing that all these activities done by Israel, it will not help for security and peace in the region. Yes.
The U.S. has facilitated the first withdrawal of Israeli troops from southern Lebanon under the ceasefire term. Is, from your point of view, this a step towards stability or merely a temporary reprieve?
I think, as always happen, and the experience from the previous cases, Israelis make more than 40,000 violation after 2006, after applying the Security Council decision 1701, and still is continuing to do the same thing And the United States, okay, it supports the stability, but at the same time, they support Israeli unlimited support to Israel. Yes.
Now, with growing calls for cooperation between Hezbollah and the Lebanese armed forces, what challenges and opportunities lie ahead for Lebanon's internal security and political dynamics?
I think in the future, the Hezbollah should be what you can see joined his armed forces to the Lebanese armed forces, and to consider one body of Lebanese armed forces, and Hezbollah will continue to play a political role far away from armed military activities, to make more stability in Lebanon in this time, and to solve the problem between the Hezbollah and the other sects of Lebanese. Because there's a division views about what Hezbollah is doing, as supporting to Palestine case, or defending the Lebanese territories. At the
Right.
same time, yes. At
Yes.
the same time, yes.
Yes, please. At the same time?
At the same time, Hezbollah will continue to have its own vision for the solutions of the controversial issues with Israel, and they will, what you can see, join and be a part of the political process to elect a president for Lebanon,
Mm.
and will continue to play a political role through the Lebanese constitution. Yes.
Hopefully. Thank you, Dr. Hassan El Daja, for your insights. And as the Middle East faces these intricate challenges, the path to lasting peace seems fraught with complexity. Now, as the Middle East grapples with continued uncertainty, South Korea faces its own political upheaval following the historic impeachment of President Yoon Suk Yeol. How is this turning point reshaping the nations? Let's shift our focus to East Asia for more. Now, the New York Times captures South Korea's challenge with the headlines: after impeachment, South Korea is left with no elected leader. President Yoon's removal is hailed as a democratic victory, but it has left South Korea facing a political vacuum. With Prime Minister Dan Duck-soo serving as interim leader, the country must address domestic polarization and external threats, including North Korea, without a strong elected voice. This moment tests the resilience of South Korea's democracy amidst uncertainty. And we're joined for analyzing the development is Mr. Mohammed Salah, an expert in Asian affairs. Good evening to you, Mr. Salah. And following the National Assembly's overwhelming vote to impeach President Yoon, Prime Minister Han Duck-soo has assumed the role of acting president. What are the immediate political implications of such a transition?
بداية أرحب بك هذه حتى الآن ليست حقيقية، لكن فترة حتى
No, it seems like there is something wrong in the voice. So let me again repeat the question. Following the National Assembly's overwhelming vote to impeach President Yoon, now Prime Minister Han Duck-soo has assumed the role of acting president. What could be the immediate political implications of such transition?
أجب أن تفصل سؤال 180 يوما، حينها سيكون عليه سيعزل بصورة نهائية، ويكون هناك
While it seems that we lost contact with Mr. Mohammed Salah until we get him back, we move to other piece of news here, and moving on to Asia. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has praised South Korea's democratic resilience after President Yoon Suk-yeol was impeached. Speaking in Jordan, Blinken emphasized the peaceful constitutional process and expressed readiness to work with acting President Han Duck-soo. Yoon, impeached over a controversial attempt to impose martial law, vowed to fight for his future as the Constitutional Court reviews the case, potentially leading to a snap election within 6 months. Welcome back, and it seems like we return to Mr. Mohammed Salah, an expert in Asia affairs. Thank you for being with us again. And let me ask you, the impeachment has sparked massive public celebrations reflecting the people's demand for accountability. How is this reshaping the relationship between the government and South Korean citizens?
With respect to the formation of the upcoming government, if the Constitutional Court has ruled and adopted the impeachment of the president, the first meeting will be tomorrow, and should issue the rule, the verdict within 180 days. In case decided that the president has announced a martial law for unconstitutional causes, the decision will be the impeachment. Hence, there will be having early elections and to be concluded within 60 days according to the constitution. I think in that case, the most proper potential opponent is the opposition opponent, the Democratic Party that represents the Liberal Party. On the other side, it will be have a great shock of the governing rule, the representative of the far right and the president of the party held a press conference through which will announce his resignation. That we may say it just is going to be useless, as the party has already 5 members of the party have been resigning, and the supreme authority will be dissolved. And this stance is young that should be impeached. The president should be impeached, and the legislative bloc president will be the one to be nominated, and then we'll be seeing
Right.
some changes and shifts within the current, whether there is an
Yes.
impeachment and elections. And
That Mr. Mohammed Salah remains to be seen. Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed Salah, for your insightful analysis. And definitely, South Korea's political landscape is at a crossroad, with the nation's democracy and stability facing unprecedented challenges, but still remains to be seen. Now, this brings us to the end of today's episode for an In Focus. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more updates on Q News.